8 weeks in the book in the National Lacrosse League, and maybe the most controversial week we've had in the National Lacrosse League in quite some time. It wasn't a good weekend for refs. It wasn't a good weekend for Buffalo sport fans. And it was a good weekend for my good friend, Pat Gregoire. Welcome back to the broadcast and the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. We are on speaking terms, even though it may at times feel like we're biting at each other's heels. You can find him on Twitter at @PGreggy. I am Teddy Jenner at Teddy Jenner. The show at OTCB_podcast or on the Instagrams at OTCB podcast. I'm sending you a virtual hug. You know I love you. Sports will not be the end of our relationship and friendship.
No.
But how are you?
No.
How are you doing?
Oh, I've been better. The organization is in complete shambles. We have players and alumni and former players posting on social media that Sean McDermott getting fired was the wrong thing. We got the guy that architected this flawed team not just not getting fired, but getting elevated and promoted to football president. Things are going well in Bill's Mafia land. But as I like to say all the time, Teddy, this is a lacrosse show. Let's keep it on task here. Okay. But in all seriousness, congratulations on the victory. I'll be honest, I'd much rather the Broncos than the Patriots go to the Super Bowl. So I will be pulling for you, Teddy. I will be pulling for, I appreciate that. Pulling for Stiddy, as your name bar says down below.
Stiddy we trust.
That is awful what happened to Knicks. And now there's like tinfoil hat saying that possibly it was in the locker room after celebrations here. I don't know, but
I'm not on board with that.
You're going to be without him. It's going to be a tough task to beat that Patriots team, but I will be riding with Broncos country because the last thing I need
that.
It's
the last thing all of us need.
For the Patriots just to be back to being a perennial Super Bowl team. We don't need that, Teddy. Nobody needs that.
No one wants that at all. So welcome to Broncos country. Let's ride. Week 8 recap. What a week it was. Let's get right into it. Jack Hanna and Will Malcolm have hat tricks as Colorado gets a huge win in Halifax. Teat's fourth quarter Hattie propels the Black Bears to a huge win in Banditland. Georgia trounces Calgary in the unboxed game as Lyle finally breaks out. The Seals hold on in Vancouver as Pat Cavanaugh continues to impress. English and Hiltz ball out in front of old Cuse teammates as the Rock got some timely blocks in Rochester for the win. Sask pulls away late from Oshawa as Keenan and Shanks have 7 points each. Vegas trailed for all of 2 minutes and 23 seconds before the supporting cast took over in a important home win. And Rule 67.16 is starting to become a problem in the National Lacrosse League, Patty. We'll give our Week 8 takeaways, but where would you like to start?
I was going to say let's start at the game that we did, but I think a lot of our mailbag actually touches upon a lot of unboxed in the city of Edmonton. So we'll wait to get that, but I will say what a great event that was, and I look forward to talking to that. But I think we should probably just start with what everyone wants to hear and all the controversy that happened this week, but most notably, let's go to Rochester, Toronto. And you talk about Rule 67.16 for maybe folks that didn't watch that game, Teddy. Let's maybe run through exactly what happened in that dying minute and a half.
Yeah, so it's under 2 minutes, under a minute. Rochester is trying to get back in that game after Toronto takes the lead. A shot is taken from in tight. Hostrauser and Mazuka are right in the top of the crease, playing goalie-ish, jumping in front, kneeling in front, and blocking a shot, and no call. A perfect example of what Rule 67.16 is. And then in the final 5 seconds, after a long pass is thrown all the way the length of the floor, bounces off the glass, up back in the middle of the defense. Was it McConvey grabs it, and in one motion throws it right on target towards Troy Holochuk. And again, it goes off Phil Mazuka, never makes it on target, and no call. The first one was obvious and a blatant penalty. The second one was obvious and should have been a penalty shot. No calls, nothing. And according to Mike Hazen, no real explanation of why those two calls weren't made. So there haven't been too many more obvious ones of exactly why the rule is put in place. There's been some where, you look at Matt Beers in Vancouver, doesn't actually block the ball or the ball hits him. He's just kind of standing next to Christian Del Bianco and he gets called. So we've talked about this a lot on this show, the gray areas. The fact that we're missing blatant ones at timely occasions of lacrosse games is starting to make me believe that we rushed this rule into place.
It is, and let me get this out before we even begin to go down this hole, as we're already down this rabbit hole. I think that the game of box lacrosse, especially at the National Lacrosse League level, but just being a box lacrosse ref, being a lacrosse ref in general, is probably the most difficult sport to ref on the planet. There are so many different factors that go into this. One, these officials that you're seeing in the NLL are also reffing in the summer with a different rule book. They're also reffing at international levels with a different rule book. They're also, some of these guys are reffing sixes and field lacrosse, all with different rule books. That is incredibly difficult. The fact that they're able to ref all those disciplines is remarkable on its own. But let's just keep it with the NLL. Yeah. One, why is it so difficult? Because the game moves fast. You have to look at so many different things that are going on. Guys are looking on ball, off ball. You're watching crease. You're watching ball. Everything. There's so much going on. And also for something that you said, when you do read through this NLL rule book, a lot of the rules leaves room for subjectiveness for these officials.
An interpretation,
and interpretation, how you interpret the rule, how you interpret the play. So I think it's abundantly difficult. And you are right. And a lot of people have been banging since it came out. Many people said this rule is way too gray. It needs to be more black and white. But you nailed it on the head. The fact that we saw something that was as clear as day as a violation of the rule is certainly concerning. And let's be honest. Hey, I know I said we were done talking football, but the perfect example happened this weekend in our game.
Yeah.
Brandon Cooks comes down with the ball. It looks like he has possession. He rolls over and it ends up into the Broncos' hands. They said that he was not down on contact. You can slow it down as much as you want. You can also, depending on how you interpret the rule, there's different areas. The very next day, there's a very similar play, and it's called the other way. Yeah. In sports, with rules and different refs and not having robots, you're going to have refs either A, mess up calls, or B, have just different interpretations from whatever it is. That is the nature of the beast that is sports. But when it's something as blatant as this, that's where I think people get really frustrated. So, just let's get back to basics here. Rule 67.16, player blocking shots in the crease. Here is the exact verbiage, the exact word for word. I'll read through it. Should a player who is in his own crease when the ball is above goal line extended act in any manner so as to attempt to interfere with an opponent's shot, he shall be assessed a minor penalty for delay of game. The assessment shall not apply if the player is in the course of defending a dunk or a dive attempt. When a goalie is out of his crease, one runner may act as a goalie in the manner described above. If time expires in the fourth quarter or overtime, if a delay penalty pursuant to this rule, the non-offending team will be provided a penalty shot for each respective violation. If a violation occurs with 30 seconds or less remaining in the fourth quarter or overtime, a penalty shot shall be assessed. So there's that one part, that caveat that you talked about. Under 30 seconds. The other caveat, it does not matter if you block. Let's get that also out of the way, folks. I've heard a lot of things of people saying, well, he didn't block the shot. Why is that being called? Not this instance, but other instances. If you are in the crease and taking away an angle, forcing a shot wide, whatever it may be, that is also a violation of this. So here is where I think maybe the first one is as clear as day.
Yeah.
Clear as day. The second one, I think there maybe could be some room for interpretation based off how this is ruled, because in any act, in a manner as to attempt to interfere with an opponent's shot, was Phil Mazuka trying to interfere with the shot? Probably. Was he? But can you definitively say that he was? Because he kind of was like on the ground and went to stand up, and then the shot blocked him, or he blocked the shot.
Yep.
Me personally, yeah, I think there was some intent there. I think even just him being, while the plays around him being in that crease, I think that's enough to deem that penalty. But maybe that's where that gray area that everyone keeps talking about, that's where it is. But that first instance, you can see Hostrauser makes himself bigger, jumps up in front inside that crease. It happened. So I don't know, Teddy, I kind of went on a diatribe there.
No,
I don't know if there's anything more you want to add, but like, I just think I agree with you. I think we may have jumped the gun here with this rule. When it first came out, I said, man, oh man, I wish it was just a clock reset.
Yep. And that's what a lot of us think. I'm on the same page as you with that. I think the easiest thing would have been to done if a guy's in the crease and it hits him, whether he's trying to block it or not. If it hits an offender in the crease, let's just reset it. Just reset it.
You are now an extension of the goalie. Like, that's what it should be. If you're in that crease, you are now an extension of the goaltender.
Yeah, and I know Hutton Jackson said this, and part of the mailbag, we'll just get it out right now because we're talking about it. But, you know, and again, we can't keep putting things on officials because it just continually, the more stuff we add and put on them, it just becomes way too hard. Like he says, we'll make it like 3 in the key in basketball. It's a great idea, but now you're asking a referee to actively watch every defender that's in the crease. There could be 2 guys in there at one time.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how are you going to count 2 separate or 3 separate 3 counts on the guy to issue if he's in the crease? I don't mind sort of the logic of it, but again, we're just adding more things for these officials to keep track of. And it's hard because for a defender, like take the Matt Beers incident, right? He's trying to take away the dunk pass behind him, and he's watching his man behind the cage and cutting down angles. He's not technically actively trying to block a shot, but as he gets closer to Delbs, he kind of takes away that far post angle a little bit, and the officials look and say, oh, he's in the crease, the shot's going towards him. That's a penalty. And like I said from the start, if I'm a forward and a D guy standing anywhere near the goalie and I'm above GLE, I'm just firing it at him. Give me the penalty. And that just makes it so hard for the officials. And I don't envy them at all to have to be in these situations, especially late in a game, a 1-goal game. And I think the reason that this rule was kind of rushed into place is because everything that happened in the previous years with teams, you know, blocking goaltenders. But I don't remember a big outrage about this when, you know, Paul Dawson was doing it with Colorado, or when he was doing it with Rochester, or Ian Lord's been doing it with Rochester, or other defenders have been doing it. It's only been the last year or so since this rule has come out. And now we're just, we talk about it being a safety issue, but we have a stat for blocked shots. So I don't know what we can do to rectify this. I don't think the NLL and the comp committee can say, hey, you know what? We need to refine this rule. We're going to take it out of the rule book for the rest of the year. Like, you can't do that. You have to dance with the devil you brought. And we're going to have to deal with this the rest of the year. And hopefully we can clear this up with the officials. I'm not sure what Brian Lemon is going to be able to do, but this is a bad look for this rule this past weekend.
Yeah, and here's the other thing I think we also need to preface as well is there are other missed calls in the league. It's not just, I think it's just magnifying because it is a new rule, and it's a rule that happened at the end of the game, and maybe this transitions into a couple of the other things that happened this weekend. But I just think it's so much more magnified because it was a controversial penalty added into a rule book. against a team that moves the needle. Let's be quite frank.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is the back-to-back Buffalo Bandits champions, a team that if you don't cheer for them, there's a good chance you probably hate them. And they have terrorized your NLL team for the last 3 years, heck, even before when they were losing it in NLL finals.
Mm-hmm.
But how poetic is it, the fact that I don't have the numbers in front of me, but they are one of the only teams that have not taken this penalty.
Yeah.
They are one of the teams that have been able to adjust. And looking at the numbers, their penalty kill is still pretty darn good. And they have been able to figure things out. You could still block shots outside of crease. Paul Dawson still has 12 blocked shots. It's not taking away blocked shots. Just step up a little bit.
Yeah, that's the thing for me. Like, I don't know how many games I've watched in the first 8 weeks where you clearly see D guys just standing in the crease and literally still doing it. Like, it's week 8, fellas. Figure it out. If there's a guy behind the net, just go stand behind GLE and shut him off. Don't sit on the post. Don't sit above GLE. At the end of the day, just don't go in the crease and do that. Like, I know it's hard. Like, it's not easy.
It's ingrained, right?
Exactly. It's just ingrained. So it's hard for, I like Matt Beers on that play. He's literally standing a foot off Christian Delbianco's pipe in the crease. And
so
I don't know. I would love for these guys to figure it out. I'd love for the officials to figure it out, but it's just like you said, it's such an ingrained thing for these defenders to want to block the shot and do everything they can that it's natural for them to go in the crease and block that shot. I think it was forced in. I think we tried to do too much too soon. The old adage, if you can't beat them, join them, turn in. If you can't beat them, change the rules. And it was a mess, and it's been a mess, and hopefully we don't have to talk about this again, but this is 3 or 4 weeks in a row now where we've had to have this conversation.
Yeah. And we can probably move on here, but one more thing before we do wrap.
Yeah.
Now, I mentioned 12 block shots. That's what Paul Dawson is at right now. If you're to stretch that out, it's not going to meet his 53 record-breaking numbers that he had last year, but it's still 36. That still would be his second highest amount of block shots since they started tracking the stat in 2022. He's still finding a way to block shots. Other guys across the league are still finding ways to block shot. Robert Hope has 14 block shots in 6 games. Guys are still blocking shots. Guys are still sacrificing the body. And some teams have figured out a way. And like you said, it's not just the defenders. It's also, we have some smart offensive players. The perfect example was you and I were in Ottawa a couple of weeks ago, Ottawa against Halifax. And as we know, whenever Ottawa plays, you got to be aware of the dunk. You absolutely have to be aware of the dunk, especially when Larson Sundown's behind the net. And I believe it was on a penalty kill. Graham Hossick's taking away that far side, but he still has that foot in the crease, and it's the ball's on the left side. Riley O'Connor is looking, and I don't think he had any real intentions to shoot the ball, but he looks and kind of gives a little fake. And next thing you know, penalty goes up. And that's just Riley O'Connor being a smart ball player, recognizing a situation. So we're going to see more of that. We're going to see more of the players starting to do that type of stuff. Now it's time for the defenders to start adjusting. And I think cooler heads will prevail. And I don't think we're going to have a situation like this kind of bottlenecked. And it was like a perfect storm to make everyone, upset about the rule. But maybe it's a necessary evil for this to have happened for us to get the change next year. And thank God it happened now. Hopefully this opens up some eyes that refs are more aware of this, that we're not talking about an NLL finals or a one and done playoff game in the. So hopefully by that point, we're at a point where something like this doesn't happen.
Well, okay. First of all, did you zoom in on purpose there? Did you do that?
That was
blew
wild,
my mind.
Right?
That was wild. Second of all,
my AI camera.
Oh God. do we add a fourth official? Like, is that something that we have to do? Like, have someone specifically watching for that, or do we make it so that if all goals are reviewed in the final 2 minutes, maybe that's something that become reviewable in the final 2 minutes or 1 minute of a lacrosse game for situations just like that. Like, you don't want to open that up because then you could, I want to review that slash, or I want to review something else. Again, you're opening Pandora's box, but to get this rule right, especially like, what happens if that Toronto Rochester game, like you said, is a 1-game quarterfinal, and Rochester's like a 1 seed, and Toronto's an 8 seed, and all of a sudden Rochester's out because that happens. Like that's worst case scenario. So hopefully Lemon, the officials, the defenders, everybody can kind of figure this out, and we don't have to talk about this again. But it was a major talking point throughout the week, and you could go to the Vancouver game again and look at replays and how they not get the Curtis Dixon replay right, or did they get it right? Jake Elliott saying he saw on the Jumbotron a different angle that in his mind conclusively showed that Dixon's foot or knee never hit the ground. So it wasn't a stellar weekend for the officials, but it was, at the end of the day, a heck of a week for lacrosse. You've got another point you want to make.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're not done here. We're not done here.
Okay.
I'm going to be on the other side here, though. I'm going to be on the other side, and I'm going to defend the officials on what happened in
the
Vancouver.
Dixon goal?
And I'm on the Dixon goal. And I'm not saying they were right, and I'm not saying they are wrong. But how all of a sudden everyone on social media is saying there is no possible way the official could have seen from where they are standing on the floor. You don't have their vantage point, guys. How do you know what Cologne can see? How do you know that? How can you
I get
say that? Just because you have a look at it? No. And here's the thing. If you go on to Vancouver's social media, which shout out to them, they do a fantastic job of always posting post-game reactions, and it's usually Mouse and it's usually a player. And Molosky obviously was pissed off about it, but he had a pretty level approach about it. He basically said, normally 9 times out of 10, and this is what I agree with him, it's almost like in baseball, the tie goes to the runner.
Yep.
Usually in box lacrosse, usually here, the tie goes to the goal scorer. Brett Cologne told him, he said, I was pretty sure where I was running, I could see his toe drag. That's why I said no goal, and that's why they were taking a look at it. But I see what he's saying. It's under a minute, under 2 minutes. It was going to be reviewed anyways. You jack it up. It's a goal. Go take a look at it. Here's the other side of things. Okay, great. That happens. But let's say he calls it a good goal. They review it. They can't overturn it. Now San Diego is absolutely furious.
Yeah.
Now they're saying you just called it a goal because you couldn't get a proper look at it. And now it's a goal. Now we're screwed. Now we're going overtime.
Yeah.
It is a no-win situation for the referee in that situation. And also, if you listen to his clip as well, he said there is another angle that they showed, and it looked like they were going to be able to get a great angle. And then he said someone on the Vancouver bench stands up, and the top of his helmet cuts off where you're able to look.
No way, really? I didn't hear that part.
Yes. If you continue on listening, someone on their bench takes that angle out. So it's not like there's 9 angles. There's 9 angles. They weren't able to do it. And like I said, maybe this is Kurt Molosky, because he's so good with the way he speaks to media and how he uses it to, motivate his players. And if he really felt like they were screwed, I think he would have been like,
I think he would have been more.
We got boned. Yeah. But he also said they put themselves in the situation to allow a goal like that to be the reason that they lost. And again, that could be coaches speak. I'm sure he probably would have liked to have that back. I just think when you're talking about what happened in Rochester, we don't need to talk about what happened in Saskatchewan, but you can find the clips online there. Go to the first Saskatchewan goal and just, I don't know, play it and see how there was a goal. Like, those are on a different level of outrageous to me, and like should should garner attention of what do we see
Yeah.
here. Whereas I think that last play is just unfortunate circumstances, crazy circumstance where it's so impossible. Like 9 times out of 10, they run that again, and there's probably going to be an angle where Danny Logan's not blocking out the foot. That's all I'm saying. It's difficult. It's a lose-lose situation, either side of the ball. Brett Cologne was going to be getting shredded either way that he makes that call on the floor. And I just want to go back saying, unless you have his eyeballs, I don't know how you're going to be able to determine what he can or cannot see from that angle.
No, I completely agree. Other than what we've just diatribed about, do you have a big takeaway from week 8 in the NLL, or a thought that's crept into your mind through 8 weeks?
So my big takeaway is that Jeff Teat should not play quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3. Just allow him to play quarter 4. It is absolutely outrageous what this guy is doing late in games, what he has been able to do down the stretch. It's nuts. It is nuts. How many goals does he have right now, Teddy? 19?
Yes. 19.
So he has, yes, I had the answer.
Sorry. So it was a rhetorical question?
Yes.
If you're wondering, he has 42 assists.
How many of his 19 goals do you think have come in the fourth quarter?
Well, I know how many have come in the third quarter. 0.
Yeah. 0.
So that's okay. So that's 19. Now we only have 3 quarters left. 10 of them.
Close, but more. 13.
What?
13. That is absolutely asinine. There's being clutch, and then there is whatever that is. That is absolutely insane. His splits for points are a little bit less outrageous, but still pretty crazy. Of his 51, 25 have come in the fourth quarter. It is so unbelievable. Unbelievable what he has been able to do late in these games. And you look at the games where he's gone off and had like multiple goals, like last week, he's got the 3 goals in the fourth quarter. They end up winning that game. He had 5 goals against Saskatchewan. Yeah. They end up winning that game as well. So like 2 instances in 2 games where he has, snapped victory from the jaws of defeat like this. Like, he is an absolute game breaker. And I know there was some talk about best player on the planet. Who is it? Like, I know championship Dane Smith has something to say here. I think we are as close to this debate. I think you could flip a coin between him and Dane Smith right now, being the best players on the planet. And you can make a strong case that Jeff is the guy right now. And I have a hard time saying no. The only thing that's avoiding him, no playoff appearance, no NLL Cup. The second he does that, you're going to have a real hard time not saying he's the best player on the planet right now.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Ottawa currently sitting in 6th, so a playoff spot could be on the horizon for Jeff Teat. My big takeaway for this week, and I had to do some digging for this one, but and this isn't a knock on Saskatchewan, but they're leading the NLL right now. 6-1, first team to 6 wins. They got a 1.5 game lead over second and third place right now. So they're kind of starting to stretch things a little bit. But since their loss to Ottawa in week 2 or week 3, the Rush haven't played a team above 500 yet. And they won't until February 14th against Vancouver. And only 5 games left in the rest of their schedule are teams above 500.
Wow.
So one, that kind of shows the fact that there's only 6 teams are above 500 right now. There are 3 teams at 500, so that's kind of the balance. But Saskatchewan is taking advantage of the games they're supposed to be winning, which is huge, especially in the early stages of a season. But now we're going to get into a bit of a stretch of games when we get to that Vancouver game of them actually playing the top teams in the National Lacrosse League. But they've already played, who are they? What am I thinking here? They already have games against Ottawa, so they won't have to face them. But they've got Buffalo, Rochester, and Buffalo twice, Rochester and Vancouver. Those are the only teams in Colorado.
Toronto. Toronto's
500.
At 500.
600.
Right? Yeah.
So, it's crazy to see that they're going to go through a stretch of having to play above 500 teams. But the fact that over the first 8 weeks, they haven't had to play a top echelon team outside of Ottawa, and that was the game they won. They're winning the games they're supposed to win. I love that for them, but I want to see them against the other top teams in the National Lacrosse League before I actually say I'm full aboard the Rush dream, because I am a believer in this Rush team, have been since the start of the season, thought they were going to make it back to the championship. But I want to see them against the top defenses, the top goaltenders, and the top offensive units, because we haven't quite seen that yet. So once we do, I'll have a better idea of what the Sask team does, and we'll talk to Zach Mans in a little bit. But this is a team that's playing great lacrosse, but they haven't been playing the best competition yet.
Yeah, that's a fair point. The way, peeling back the curtain here, we have our show notes, and I read that, and I was like, the audacity of Teddy. We've got Zach Mans coming on, and he's about to put the fraud watch on these guys. But no, the way that you explained it, I understand that. I will say this. I know I just said, forget the Patriots. There's kind of a little bit of a narrative about that Patriots team this year with like the easiest schedule in the NFL. Their path to the Super Bowl could potentially be pretty easy here going against Stiddy, but in Stiddy we trust. It doesn't matter. You play who you play. And if you can collect wins and if you can go on a roll, I actually think it's unbelievably impressive. We've only had the one quote unquote stinker from them in Ottawa. They have found a way. And to me, what does that prove? That it proves coaching, that it proves culture and leadership, that they're able to stay focused and dialed in, whether they're playing a bottom feeding team, whether they're playing one of their heated rivals in Halifax. They have that same mentality, and that is what you need if you're going to be a championship team.
And you call it a stinker, but they were leading after 3 quarters in that Ottawa game, and then just gave up the final 6 goals. So just really one bad quarter for them, and that's their only loss. So over the next few weeks, they're on a bye this week. Again, we'll talk to Zach Mans about the Rush, but some big games coming up for them in the future. Time now to check in the mailbag as we talk about Unbox and so much more.
You've got mail.
All right, we haven't really delved into this too much, but we're going to now. Dawson wants to know, what are your thoughts on NLL's return to Edmonton? Can it succeed? And let's just give your overall thoughts of Edmonton, Rogers Place, and everything that went on this past weekend.
First and foremost, that building is gorgeous. It is gigantic, state of the art. Everything about that barn, it is a pro venue. Seats look comfortable. Unfortunately, I didn't get to sit in the seats while you guys were at the Oilers game because my flight was delayed for almost 9.5 hours. But everything looked great. And I think when it comes to the actual event itself, Teddy, I thought it was a very well put on event. I thought the crowd, was energetic. They didn't leave till the very end. I know there was some discourse out there, like, should there have been more? You know what? Would I have loved to see more? For sure. Could there have been more? Absolutely. I'm not going to, belittle that. I'm not going to go into all that because that discourse has kind of already played its course. What I will say this is, if you could have almost 7,000 people in that building without a rooting interest, and to be quite honest, there wasn't even that many Calgary fans that made the trip. There was a decent amount, but if that game's on Saturday, I'm thinking there's probably like almost 1,000, 1,500 people hopping in a bus and going out that way. Sure. Like I think the building would be filled way more with Roughneck fans. So if you do have a home team, if you do have a team, a full off season where you're able to pump things up and get people excited about lacrosse back in Edmonton, there's no reason why this can't succeed. Yep, I really think it can. I think OEG has to be involved. I think that is a non-negotiating, I don't know. part of my ignorance. I don't know if there's any other buildings around there that could hold,
Not really.
a venue. I think that's the only one. And we've seen too many times independent owners go into NHL and NBA barns, and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
We need the buy-in, quite literally the buy-in. I mean, at least 51% of ownership of OEG, and I think it can work. I really do. I think so. And I really enjoyed it. I would love to see that back. I think the rivalry of the three prairie teams, if you have Calgary, if you have Saskatchewan, and then an Edmonton team, it's going to help save on travel. I think it could work, Teddy.
Yeah, I do too. It was awesome to see, some of the old Rush jerseys in the crowd. They brought back the old Rush in-house announcer. He was rocking his giant Rush championship ring
that
from
was
2020.
wild.
That thing was huge. So they did some things really well. And this is, I don't want to say it's a conspiracy, but remember how we were talking about, ticket sales and the price of tickets, and maybe OEG is setting the tickets higher because, they want to sort of outprice the crowd. So there's not going to be a lot of people, and they can say, oh, nobody showed up. That's a reason for us not to have a team. I'm thinking that they set the prices where they did. They didn't do a very good job marketing within the Edmonton community from all the people that we kind of talked to. So
I'm glad you said it. I wasn't going to say it.
I know you weren't going to say it, right? But I could say it. I'm an Oilers fan. I have, property in the Oilers operation. But it's almost like, let's sort of do things to detract fans almost and not create buzz, just to see how many people show up. Then we can say, oh shit, 7,000 fans showed up, and we had tickets a little bit higher than we should have, and we didn't market as well as we should have. What happens if we actually put all our resources behind this? What can we do? So the game was what it was. The score, that doesn't really matter. It's the surrounding fans and excitement and atmosphere that we got that should lead the OEG to say, hey, you know what? I think there is something we can do here, and I think we can make this work. And I think that's a very positive sign for a potential return, which gets us into Nathan's question. How does Edmonton get an NLL team? Is it a new franchise, or is it a relocation? I don't think they want to spend whatever the price tag is on a brand new team. I think they would probably like to get a team at a discount and bring them in. He asked if it's Georgia or if it's Philly. I don't think Georgia's going anywhere anytime soon. I think Philly is maybe the most logical team. But as you and I have discussed in previous conversations, not on the broadcast, or on the podcast, that's a very American heavy team. That would probably be a really tough relocation and sell for a lot of those guys on that team to say, hey, we're now going to be located in Edmonton. How do you feel about moving there? So that's where it becomes a bit of an issue for me. I don't know what ends up happening, but I don't think OEG wants to spend whatever the price tag is on a brand new team. I think they would like to get a bit of a discount on somebody, which brought me to the hot take that I said to you the other day. What if we go full circle and the Priesters sell a team back to the Oilers and the Rush return to Edmonton?
That would be an all-time I don't know if it's a heel move or heel turn, whatever it is, but that would be crazy. That'd absolutely be crazy. I'd be sad to see Saskatchewan go. I think, I know the crowd hasn't been what it has been for a few years here, but I think it's starting to gain some traction. I think they're on the right direction. And again, I think a big reason why Edmonton coming back would be so great is because now we'd have three teams in that part, three part. But me personally, I kind of agree with you. I'll say this: Georgia, if I would be shocked if Mr. Arlotto was ready to sell that team, because I said it. An independent owner is not going into that building. It's not going to be a similar situation like we've seen in Ottawa where there's a partnership. That's not, as all I've heard, OEG, they want the team. They want to be able to control it. So I just don't see how that's going to happen. So also, I said it last week, folks, I'll say it again. an unboxed game doesn't automatically mean we're going next
Yeah.
year. Pack your bags, Philly. You're going to be the Edmonton Wings. No. This is a very, very, very successful sports and entertainment entity. They're going to be doing their due diligence. They have done their due diligence. They're going to continue to do it. And there is a lot of stuff that they have to go through before this happens. So let's relax.
Which leads us into Luke's final question in the mailbag. With Edmonton having just hosted and all the talk of them getting a new team, what's the situation looking like in Montreal 2 seasons on from the unboxed game of Laval? Are there any rumblings or developments on that front? And that's just kind of what you said, Patty. Just because we go somewhere doesn't mean that you're automatically going to get a team. We've seen Albany move to Oshawa. We all kind of thought that would be the Laval team or a Montreal team, but it didn't happen. So there hasn't been a lot of talk that I've heard on that front. So I think it's just, we're doing these unboxed games, seeing if there's interest. I'm sure there probably still is interest from a Montreal-based group, whether it's the Habs or another family in that area. But I haven't heard anything along the lines of that, and I'm not sure if you have either.
Put it this way, I think it has to be the right situation for this Montreal. They're not just going to jump in, dive in. Similar to what I said about OEG. Yes, the Laval Oshawa connection, that whereas a lot of people drew their attention to, because as we found out that COVID was the one thing that kept Albany going there, was just the difficulties for the ownership group to get up there, see the arena, all that stuff. So would I be surprised the next couple of years if Montreal had a team? No, absolutely not. I know they're very much interested, but Montreal, the Canadiens ownership group, they also want the team. They don't want the partnership. They don't want just half. Like, I think it has to be the perfect situation. We haven't seen that perfect situation come up yet, but that doesn't mean things couldn't move. I know Mr. Frood, his entire staff are working hard on abundance of things and relocation, expansion, strengthening current franchises. That's also it. And let's also remind folks as well. I know it is very dire and we're hearing not great things about Philadelphia. The NLL wants nothing more than a team to stay in Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah.
Just remember that. They're not actively looking, all right, let's pack up shop, we're out of here. They're doing everything in their power to make sure that a legacy franchise like that stays in the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area. I can promise you that, folks. They're not wishing the Wings away.
No, we already did that once. We don't need to do it again. This week's guest on the Off the Crossbar podcast is brought to you by the Goalie Factory. Goalie Factory helps goalies of all ages become complete athletes and improve their game through weekly camps based in Langley, BC. They have elite one-on-one coaching across the Lower Mainland and online coaching you can access anywhere. They focus on technical skill, athletic development, and building the mindset it takes to perform at your best. Visit Goalie Factory on Instagram at @goaliefactory_ or visit goaliefactory.ca to book your session today. Unfortunately for the Goalie Factory, we have a goalie hater. Zach Mans loves to light the lamp behind the goalies, and he's doing it at a high pace. He joins us this week on the Off the Crossbar podcast.
Get your popcorn ready, because something crazy is about to happen.
Always happy to have our good friend Zach Mans back on the show. Mansy, how are you, brother?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
No complaints, right, Patty? Just in a great mood. Everything's been fine for you all this week.
Yeah. Tough weekend, but this is a lacrosse show. This is not a football.
Oh, my
show,
bad.
Let's
Sorry,
stay the course.
I apologize. All right, Mansy. Things have been going well for you boys lately. What's the mood around the Rush right now? Top team in the league and playing some damn good lacrosse.
The mood's great. The mood's been great. I think the mood's been great for a couple of years now. I think we're a confident group, and I think that when you stack some wins like we have been in a row, you're going to feel good about yourself, and we do. So it's been good.
Was there any bad taste? Obviously, a bad taste in your mouth, but you came into the season with a bit of a chip on your shoulder, kind of wanting to right the wrongs. Is last year still on your guys' mind?
Yeah, I think. I mean, as a competitor, you always want to win those big games. That's why you play to win the championships. So I think it's probably in the back of everyone's mind, especially the guys who haven't won one. I think it's a little bit different if you have already won a couple, like Churchy and those guys. So yeah, it's going to be in the back of your mind, and it's something that I don't really think you can't really think of until playoffs. I think you just got to let the regular season rock and stack up your wins, and then once we get to the playoffs, you can really let that fuel your fire.
With that being said, some teams that do end up making it to the final, they have a hard time starting off on time and getting up for just a random game in January. That certainly hasn't been the case for you guys. How have you been able to stay motivated early on in this season?
I mean, honestly, I don't think we had our best start to the season. I think our first few games, I think we were a little bit I wouldn't say bad, but we weren't at our best. And I think that second game loss really lit a fire under us, and I think we played great ball since then. So I think actually we weren't our best at the start. So there was a little bit of I wouldn't say championship hangover because we didn't win, but we weren't at our best.
The last few games, I've kind of noticed a bit of a trend with you. You're really taking a lot of your anger and frustration out on fellow Victoria guys. This past weekend it was Will Johansson. The week before that was Nick Preston. Then it was Max Wilson. Like, I know we're all friends, but what is it about playing against guys that and have played with that just fires you up and makes it a little bit more personal?
I mean, it's just a lot of fun, like playing against guys that you've grown up with. I mean, especially Willie J. We played together since we were little kids. So, and I mean, he's a fantastic player. Like, I've seen it all my life. So, you got to play hard when you're going against guys that are that good. So, I think that's just me not wanting to make a fool out of myself, really, and just playing as hard as I can because I know I have to because he's so damn good.
Absolutely. It's fun because like you can see how much the goals mean to you. Like every time you score, it's an emphatic fist pump and a scream to the crowds. But I just noticed that each time you dusted Willie or Max or Pressy, that it just meant a little bit more. And I think that's infectious to your guys' team because everybody loves to score in this group. And it's that old mentality of doesn't matter who gets the goal as long as someone does. You guys are having a lot of fun as an offensive unit right now.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, like you said, we have like 7-8 guys who can put the ball in the net, honestly. And I think even some of our depth guys have been a little bit unlucky scoring the ball. I think a lot of those guys could have 2, 3, 4 more goals this season as well. So I think we've been playing great. And like you said, we have a lot of fun, man. Like everyone's always smiling. We love coming to the rink. We love practicing. So it's a lot of fun to get together every weekend, and it shows with the product on the floor. I think we've been our best, at least in the past few years since I've been on the team. This has been the best stretch of offense that we've played, and I'm trying to keep that going.
You guys have had that, everybody eats mantra. We talked about it before the finals last year. I think it's the same again with 4 guys over 30 points. But I got to say, Ryan Keenan's plate's a little full. He's going up for seconds because he's been filling the bucket up quite a bit. And thirds, yeah. What was it, like 31 points in the last 4 games? He's really elevated his level. What have you seen from Captain Sirius that has allowed him to elevate his game over the last stretch here?
Man, he's always been this good. I think he's always bought into setting hard picks, playing the right way. I think he's got one of the most complete games in the whole league, and he's just got a hot stick right now, man. He does all the small things and results in great shots for him, and he legit can't miss right now. He was using Brock Haley's stick last weekend because his gear didn't come, and I think he hit his first 3 shots of the game. I'm like, this guy's ridiculous right now. So it's a lot of fun to watch. It's a lot of fun to play with, and he deserves it, man, because he's a hard worker. He's a great leader for us, and it's great to see him have success like that because he's putting up a lot of points, and hopefully they keep coming, man, because it's helping us win games.
You talk about leaders. I don't think anybody across the league would say no to adding a guy like Mike Messenger to their roster. Is it just jaw-dropping sometimes about how easily he can kind of take over a shift?
Yeah. He's an absolute animal. he'll soak a shot that's going 100 miles per hour straight to anywhere on his body, and it's like it was made of a little ball of paper rolled up. He eats it like nothing, and then he'll go pick up a loosey, body someone, pick it up one hand, and then sprint the floor and go top corner. So there's not a lot of guys like him in the lacrosse world, and Mess has been playing great for us, and yeah, man, he's a great teammate as well. He's probably the most intimidating guy that I've ever played against in the past. So it's a lot of fun to have him on our side, and yeah, he makes us go like, what was that? Like multiple times per game. Like us guys on the offensive end, we'll look over at each other and be like, Mess is an absolute animal. And that's all you can say, because it's just what it is, man. He's so good.
Yeah, is River still coming around for home games?
Yeah, River's there. He's pregame there. He could probably slobber on a couple less balls and warm up when I'm using a brand new twig and shoot one into the netting. But no, it's great to have River. The whole team loves it, and it just adds to the atmosphere and shoot around, feeling good on game day.
I want to go back to the offense because I think Teddy and I can probably talk poetically about the defense, and we probably should, because they are such a great group. But a guy that maybe isn't getting the flowers that he maybe deserves, and it's probably just because he's not filling the stat sheet, but he's worked his way into a full-time role. He's worked his way into being an everyday guy. That's Josh Zawada. What have you seen from him to elevate his game from where he was last year to from now being a guy that went from having to be in and out of the lineup to a guy that has worked his way to as an everyday guy?
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly he was always good to get in the lineup. I think we were deep, but yeah, he's fantastic. He's definitely elevated his game. IQ wise, you can just tell that when he's got the ball on his stick, things are moving a little bit slower than they have been for him in the past. And he can just make plays. Like we got a lot of guys that can get to the net on our offense, and he's another one. Like when he gets to the net, he usually makes guys look silly. So yeah, it's just a great guy to have on the right side. And then anytime he's got his hands free and he's open, you want to throw it over to him because he's got a great rip. And I think he complements Trucci, Brocky, and Shanksy really well on that right side. And like I said, they have a lot of fun playing together on that right side. They love working for each other. They don't care who scores. They're super happy when each other scores. So it's been great with Jay-Z, and I think he's only going to get better. I think he probably can say he's a little snake bit to the start of the season. He's had a lot of great looks. So hopefully those keep coming, and he can finally see those drop, because he's a great player, and he's only going to get better.
Do you wish Frank would throw you the ball more?
Yeah, I mean, he throws absolute dimes. It's just a matter. I think teams are real. Like last year, I could probably had 10 breakaways at least off the bench. I think I have 1 or 2 this year. So I think teams are realizing that we like to run, which is probably smart. They're getting back really early, a lot earlier than last year. So those opportunities probably aren't going to come as much this year, but you got to make them count when they do. And Frank, I don't think I've seen Frank miss one of those passes. So he's great.
You guys do like to run. You are fast, but Matt Accioni, I think might be the fastest guy in the league. Who wins in a foot race, him or River?
Him or probably Atch. Probably Atch will probably stick his foot out too and trip River. So I'm just kidding. No, Accioni, he's got wheels, man, and he's another guy that's elevated his game this season. You can just tell when he's out there, the game's moving slower for him, and he's made a lot of plays to start the year. So yeah, everyone's making contributions to the success for sure.
GM and head coach Derek Keenan had his 300th game the other week. He's just a savant and a legend of our game. What are some of the finer details that you've picked up in your years under Derek?
It's just like, I think that the biggest thing is just the attention to detail. There's so many small things in the game that you can overlook or maybe not work as hard at. Like, it's pretty easy to go 100% when you have a lane to go underneath to the net, but when you got a guy out in space, are you going to work 100% to get out and set a pick on them? So I think it's just the attention to detail and just the fun that he has out there. Like he's coached his 302nd game, and it seems like it was his 10th with the amount of fun he has out there, and that's infectious. And it starts with him, and it bleeds onto the whole group. We have such fun when we're out there.
Kind of helps that Jimmy's out there acting like a dork sometimes too, right?
Jimmy, he's the exact same way. He has infectious energy, and like he's one of one, and we love him.
Yeah, I mean, seeing him out there in his ball shorts to past his kneecaps, running out there with you guys, it really is. It's awesome. Like to see the Jekyll and Hyde, the complete opposites that both of them have out on the floor, out on the bench. I think that's probably why it works so well. But how is it like that dynamic? It's been a couple of years now. You've been under them for a while now. What is that dynamic like, having two guys who are completely different but just have such a vast wealth of knowledge when it comes to the game?
It's great. Derek isn't really too much X's and O's with us on the offense. He kind of just oversees things like a general. But yeah, Jimmy, I think since last year, when he got moved to the O door to coach us up front, he's been fantastic. I think especially this year, he's even gotten better. Just always calling the right sets and just coaching him with enthusiasm, like always. So he has a great dynamic, and then you throw in Jammer there, and he just always has the right things to say. So it's a great dynamic between the two of them. Like Jimmy will come down, we'll go down and go over some O stuff, and then Derek will come down and probably preach the same things that Jimmy was just saying. So they're on the right page, which is great. And it's a great duo. And then Levy on the back door is great as well. So it's been a lot of fun.
You guys have a bye week coming up before a good stretch of games, but what's focus for you personally during a bye week like this to kind of maintain your stature and your prowess and just stay sharp over the next 12 days or so?
Yeah, just work out at our gym here in Sask with some of the other guys. Just get our legs going, probably ride the bike a couple times, and then just watching some film and just hanging out, relaxing. Had a long stretch there, so the body's a little bit banged up. So get a good week off or rest, and then watch some lacrosse games and some football this weekend.
I'll get to that in a second. But what are you like? I've been to Saskatoon a bunch of times. I got some friends who live out there, and I've experienced a bit of it. But like in the dark days of winter, what's there to do in Saskatoon?
I'll say we've played a lot of simulated golf.
Okay.
There's two good golf sims that Brock Haley, Jake Boudreau, and I we've been session, we'll say. So trying to work on my game during the winter. So that's one of the things that we do. We go to eat a lot, see movies. I mean, you can't really be outside that much, but you can if you're Mike Messenger. He's been trying to get us to come out ice fishing. So that's one of the things that we have on our to-do list. Maybe we'll do it this week.
There you go.
I still think we said this on one of our calls for TSN. I still think the perfect content piece would be you and Mess out in the wild. Like your social team needs to do that. Like he teaches you how to live out in the wilderness. I think it would be perfect.
I would probably make myself look like an idiot. But I'm down. I'd be down.
We've had a lot of conversations over the years, whether it's on this pod or on our TSM calls, and usually early in the year, you kind of always talk about the things that you work on going into this year, or each year. What was maybe the one thing that you wanted to focus on? And I know it's different with lacrosse because you're coming right out of summer ball, right back into season, but was there one or two things that you really wanted to help bring your game to the next level?
I think just I wanted to get my IQ just I always wanted to get higher, right? So each season you want to get better, you want to get smarter. And I think I have. I think I've taken care of the ball quite a bit better than I did last year. Yeah, and I think also just always being aggressive, staying consistently aggressive. I think there was times last year where when you have such a good offense, it's easy to kind of just be a passenger sometimes and just feed the hot hand. But when we're at our best, is when I'm super aggressive. So just staying on that and just not taking no for an answer, and just always trying to get to the net, I think is the biggest thing.
Everyone knows you're a hooper. I guess I was going to say former hooper, but once a hooper, always a hooper.
Former.
Played high level basketball.
Washed
now, really? Oh no. Well,
I can shoot a little. I was never really much of a shooter, but I think that's probably the only thing that I can still do. I cannot handle the ball like I used to.
So you're the old man that can just sit out on the elbow and shoot for days during the pickup games.
I could still get up.
But I was going to ask you, okay, because everyone always talks about, when they see lacrosse, box lacrosse especially, for the first time, hockey comes to mind. But when you really break it down, basketball is a much better comparison when it comes to a lot of the attributes. So I want to ask you, if you could choose one NBA player that you could help turn into a lacrosse player, which player would you pick and why?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a real good question. I want to say, I want to say Wemby, but I think he would just get humbled. You put Wemby in the middle and Mike Mess cross-checked him one time, he'd probably fold in half. So not him, but that would be fun to see. I'm thinking maybe like a Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah.
I watched them play live in person, and I don't think there's a faster player in the NBA. So that footwork and size and speed, I think, would be lethal. So I'm gonna go with him. I think that's kind of a low-key answer for you.
No, that's a
sleeper answer for you.
That's ball knowledge right there for sure.
Respect.
I thought you were going to say I thought you were going to say Pat Spencer. I figured that might have been the easiest layup, but
yeah. Honestly, I didn't even think of that. So yeah, I wanted to say LeBron James because I'm a LeBron guy, but
that's always the easy
a lot
answer
of flack for that answer. So
yeah,
we'll go with Maxey.
No
Manzi, we appreciate you, brother. Enjoy the week off. Maybe enjoy some ice fishing. Who knows? But who are you pulling for in the football this weekend?
I'm Seahawks all the way, baby.
Oh, of course you are.
Seahawks. Go 12. Go 12.
Go 12. See you guys in the Super Bowl, brother. Appreciate your time. Enjoy the week off. We'll talk soon, Manzi.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness.
From washed up basketball player to a highlight reel in the lacrosse box, Zach Mans of the Saskatchewan Rush. Great chatting with him. Don't forget, find the Goalie Factory on Instagram at @goaliefactory_ or visit goaliefactory.ca to book your session today. He's come a long way, has Zach Mans. I remember the first couple of times we interviewed him, he was very short and still kind of a little bit nervous, but he's loosened up. He's having a lot more fun, and I think that's a very contagious thing in the Rush locker room these days.
Yeah, I think confidence was something that when he was in Toronto, and not just confidence off the floor, I'm talking more like confidence on the floor, was something that he struggled with, not because he didn't believe he was a National Lacrosse League player. I just felt like he was not trying to step on toes and, would be very hard on himself when he didn't have a great game because he was afraid of coming out of the lineup or not being a key contributor. But then when he went to Saskatchewan, things changed. He realized, okay, I can be the guy. I can maybe take that extra take that I want to. Maybe I take this to the net, whereas before he was kind of worried about it. And that is a long time ago. Now that confidence on the floor has exuded into the confidence in the locker room, confidence in, conversations like this. And he has now become a great leader on that team. And I think the one thing that is so abundantly obvious with this group is that even though and I'm not saying this as a negative, but like a ragtag group of guys on the team. Sure, they have they have some Whitby connections. They got some, Vic connections. they've got guys from all over the place and different personalities, loud guys, quiet guys, goofy guys, hunters, basketball players, you name it. Like they have just a ton of different guys in that locker room, and they all get together. There's no cliques. You go out to, you go out to lunch, and it's a massive table of
they
a bunch
take
of
the whole
dudes,
bar.
right? They take the entire thing. Whereas some other teams, you go out and there's, the vets over there, the young guys over there, maybe a bigger table over here, right? Or other guys are at different places. You have done more SAS games than I have over the last couple of years. But every time I've done a game, especially in Sask, it's that big group all together. Yeah. And that starts from the top, right?
Yeah, like I remember my first years in Rochester, after morning shoot around, everybody on the whole team would all go to the distillery, and we'd all sit at, a bunch of group of tables they'd have set aside for us because they always knew we were coming. But then, as I went to Anaheim and Minnesota and even Edmonton after post games, it was like, hey, like you said, 5 or 6 guys here, 3 or 4 guys there. Some guys are going to the mall. Other guys are just going straight to the wrapper. It's when you have those times of everybody bonding together and just getting down for those sit down meals. It just brings the team so much closer together, and you see more teams that do that are the ones that generally are having success just because they are that tightly knit. Week 9 in the NLL is coming up. It doesn't include the Saskatchewan Rush, who are on a bye week, but 2 games Friday, 2 games Saturday, a quiet one, but we got some good ones. San Diego at Philly kicked things off on Friday. San Diego obviously coming off a big win in Vancouver. Philadelphia continually playing well, but just not finding wins. Are we starting to see San Diego? Like, was this a turning point for San Diego to get that win on the road in Vancouver?
It certainly could be. One thing that will not allow it to be a turning point is if they lose this game here and lose all that momentum. For me, the biggest thing, Teddy, I guess a couple of things. One is the play of Chris O'Reilly. Like, he was fantastic in that game. He looked like the O-Rig of 2 years ago. And I think when he's playing well, it allows the rest of the group to play confident. I still think they're trying to find what works well on offense. Like, I still don't think they have that perfect lineup, but like Zach Currier, man, what a absolute ball player this guy is. 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points, 9 loose balls, 2 caused turnovers. He's playing both sides of the ball. Like, I think he's just at this point now where they figured, like, shit, he's going to have to play more offense because we need him. And I think this team is going to go as far as that guy takes them. And the big thing, though, is the goaltending. And once that happens, I think the next most important player is Currier. And I don't want to say he willed his team to victory the other night because there were a lot of other guys that have big games as well. But he certainly played a big time role in that. And Phil, I'll flip this to you. Like, are we talking about like, well, I guess there's a home and home. So if you can saw off and flip, I think maybe it's not. We're getting close to like blouses here. Like if these, like, we're getting close. The only other thing is you could say is last year they were on the other side where they were on a tear to start the year and then the wheels fell off and the season was over. So you don't think if they lose these next 2 games, it's done? Because at that point,
it's getting to it. If they drop both, they're 1-6. They'd have to go. So that's 7 games. They got 11 games left.
Let me read the schedule out for you, and you can tell me if you.
Well, hold on. I'm just looking at it right now. They have 3 back-to-backs the rest of the year, and their back-to-backs are against the same team. One of them has a few days between, but San Diego in the next 2 weeks. And they got Georgia and a home and home on the same weekend. And then Oshawa the 2 weekends after that. Like, it's not easy. But like, if you string a back-to-back against the same team, or even if you saw, and that's like huge, if you like, that's an easy way to chew up some tiebreakers. Right. But for me, it's like, you look, so you got Seal, so you got at home to San Diego, then you go to San Diego, then you're at Buffalo, at Calgary, home to Saskatchewan, that home and home with Georgia, home and home against Oshawa, home against Halifax, home against Toronto, home against Vegas,
and then you end the season on the road with the Warriors. That's not the easiest schedule I've ever seen in my life.
Not at all. And it's going to be a taxing one. This is they're obviously not the youngest team in the National Lacrosse League, but when you look at them, they seem still fairly young. Like O'Neill's only in his second year. Dalton Young's a rookie. Michael Sowers technically is a rookie. They've got some young pieces. I still want to see them play Landon Sinfield a little bit more. I'm surprised he's not getting more action for Ian Rubel. But they're going to have to start putting some wins together. It's kind of like Calgary. You can only be competitive for so long until you're just like, meh, okay. Sure, they're going to give a team a run, but they'll fall apart in the fourth, or they'll have a slow start and just not be able to come all the way back. They're going to have to start turning things around. I know we're really hoping that Nick Damude would be sort of the guy to lead them to the promised land and get them in the playoffs. He's not having a terrible year, but they're just not able to compete with the upper echelon teams, and they're not able to force their will on anybody. And that's been a big thing for them. So, at home against San Diego this weekend, I could see them finding a way to win, but San Diego, I think, is just going to have a different gear. And, it's going to take another, 6-goal night, 10-point night from Brendan O'Neill and an 8-point night from Joe Rez if they're going to have any success. So that's the way things start on Friday. Then we get your game, the TSN Game of the Week, Vancouver at Ottawa. I know you haven't quite done your coaches and player calls quite yet, but, Ottawa starting to turn things around. Vancouver kind of wheels in the mud right now. It's kind of a meeting of the heads. This should be a fantastic lacrosse game.
I can't wait, man. This one actually has been scheduled. Like when we got our schedule, this one was one of the ones that I circled and was like, oh, I can't wait for this one. Just because Vancouver, it's crazy. There's 2 games this year now that I'm going to do Vancouver on the East Coast, and they've struggled with the East Coast in years past, but it's starting to turn around. They won in Oshawa, so they're going to have another opportunity here. I think when you look at Ottawa and Dan McRae, when he came on this program, when he's talked to his team in training camp, he always preaches consistency. And that's one thing that we haven't seen from Ottawa this year, not just game by, or, in game, but also game by game. Like it's win, loss, win. They strung 2 wins together only once so far. They also haven't lost back-to-back games either. This is a game, I think, where you make a statement against Buffalo. You go into Buffalo, you knock off the Bandits. I'm not saying all is for naught if you end up losing at home to Vancouver, but if you can beat Buffalo and Vancouver in back-to-back weeks, I think we have to start admitting that this team is different and they're not the same old Black Bears or Riptide of years past.
No, I completely agree. I think this could be a very statement-like game for the Ottawa Black Bears because, as you said, you beat Buffalo, you beat Vancouver, 2 perennial NLL champions that a lot of people had penciled in for the championship at the end of the year. That's a huge moment for your lacrosse team. Yeah. Jeff Teed averages just over 6 points a game against Vancouver. I think he's only played them about 4 times, but that's a good number against a team you don't play very often, right? Vancouver has to look themselves in the mirror a little bit. I still think they're missing Ryan Martell on that left side. I think they need his scrappiness. I know they want to get Ryan Sheridan going a little bit more, but I like that Sheridan just bangs and crashes. He's going to get his. They need a guy that can just muck things up and go be dirty in a corner if they need to. When you look at the Calgary game was a very emotional game for Vancouver and all that surrounded that lacrosse game. So, the overtime win was a huge one for them and everything that was going on. And then the loss at San Diego, for some reason, they don't play San Diego very well. I think San Diego's like 5-2 or 6-1 or something like that over Vancouver in the last few years. So there's something to that. Kurt Milosky will have his team ready for this game, but they're going to have to be ready to go from the jump because if you can jump on Ottawa, you can put them on their heels, and sometimes they have a hard time getting back in the games. But if you allow Ottawa to stick around, that's a team that can hang 6 in a row on you real quick. So I'm excited to see this game. I think it's going to be a fast-paced game. Both transition teams are phenomenal. Man, is Callum Jones just asserting himself as the best in the National Lacrosse League right now at what he does. It's going to be a phenomenal game Friday on TSN. Saturday, Georgia, Toronto. This has a very sneaky ability to steal game of the weekend. We found out Monday that Nick Rose is going to be out for the foreseeable future with a lower body injury. They trade for Kevin Orleman from Buffalo. Troy Holochuk will probably be the starting goaltender for them. Could San Diego or could Georgia put up 19 again? I don't think so, but these are two offenses that are starting to click. CJ Kirst is starting to unveil himself as a premier player in the National Lacrosse League. Hiltz and Kurtz are starting to find their role. Kurtz is playing well. English and Hiltz are starting to find their role. I just don't know about Troy Holochuk, man. And if Georgia can do what they did against Calgary, I could see Georgia winning this lacrosse game.
There's no denying that. I think Georgia would sign off on, just more than half of the offensive output that they had in that game because they've been struggling to even get to 10 goals. But with the way that their defense plays and seeing them up close and personal, you really see how big they are, how rangy they are, how aggressive they are. Like, I'd love to see what the cool bet over under for caused turnovers in this game is between the two aggressive defenses that are going toe to toe. Yeah, I think this could sneakily be the game of the week. I think the game breaker is in between the pipes. Can Holochuk match what we've seen from Dobson to start this year? Can he just hold down the fort? That's where I think, unfortunately, this game could be won and lost. But we've seen Troy Holochuk in small spurts this year in his career come in, not just to parts of games, but getting starts. Think about how well he played in Halifax in his first start of his career. Think about just even how well he played when he came in to relieve Nick Rose of what he was, whatever he dealt with. Sounds like he's going to be out for a little while as well. So I'm really looking forward to this one. You're right about Toronto. It feels like they're starting to find their stride, find their chemistry. And you're right. I think this could, I think this easily could be game of the week. There's no doubt about it.
Maybe outside of the San Diego Philly game, which I think will be an entertaining lacrosse game, but maybe not on the parallel of the other three. I think the other three could have game of the week written all over them. Oshawa at Colorado. This is an Oshawa team that not having a lot of wins lately, but their offense is putting up numbers, but they're about to run into a Colorado team that is playing some of the best lacrosse they've played in the past couple of seasons. The way that Dylan Ward's been going, they get Andrew Q back. I want to see this Oshawa team get some wins. I want to see them start having success and kind of climbing up the standings. I just don't know if I believe in them right now.
Yeah, 10 goals against Saskatchewan, certainly not. I don't think we'll get the job all that much, but at the same time, scoring 10 against that defense and Frank Giuliano is not easy. The issue was giving up 15. And there have been only a handful of times, Teddy, that we've seen the offense and the defense play well on the same night. You go back to their win against Toronto. They won 8-7. They get the doors blown off them 11-2 against Halifax. Then it's a 9-5 loss, an 8-6 loss. Then the offense finally comes to life, but they give up 14. And then they get a win against Halifax. That was the game where both the offense and the defense was clicking. That was also their opponent could not have looked any worse. And then you feel like there's some momentum going and they're heading in the right direction. They go into Saskatchewan. It just not a very inspiring matchup, inspiring game. This is just going to be just almost as tough as a task, if not a more difficult task for these guys going into Colorado, facing arguably one of the hottest teams in the National Lacrosse League. And much like we were saying with Philly, we're not at must win for this group just yet, but we're getting close. We're getting really close that this team needs to start collecting wins or start running the table. It's getting late early here for Oshawa.
Week 9 starts Friday, San Diego at Philadelphia, Vancouver at Ottawa. That is your TSN game of the week. Then on Saturday, Georgia at Toronto, Oshawa at Colorado. All games on NLL Plus, TSN Plus, and ESPN Plus. Polar Bear time here on Off the Crossbar.
Time now for Box Bets, your source for all the lines, odds, and props from across the world of lacrosse. Brought to you by CoolBet.com. Stay cool, bet responsibly.
Hey, we're having a good day, lads. And we're still in the mix, baby.
Last week, the goaltenders, they let us down. We were close. CDB had 46, Higgy had 44. Sigs didn't have the output that we thought, so we didn't cover on our exclusive. Buffalo lost, Vancouver lost, Sask won. So the other parlay that the fans voted on didn't win out either. We're recording early, so we don't have our parlay and exclusives up quite yet. We will get those to you later in the week, but Pat has some information for me.
I've got an idea here. I have an idea here, Teddy.
Oh.
We know you. We can see your hat. We know you are a Broncos fan. Why don't we do some sort of
double dip?
Why don't we do something here where let's call it Teddy's teaser.
Okay.
Let's build a little bit of a teaser here. So we're gonna buy up the Denver Broncos plus 7.5. So them to keep it within a touchdown. Okay. They're at home.
Sure. Yeah.
In City we trust, like you said. So we'll get to that. That's -167.
Yep.
Let's open up here. I'll read you out the odds and from the spread. We're going to go with the spread here, Teddy. Okay. San Diego, I want you to take an underdog, the best underdog that you like, because you need to bring your underdog mentality here.
Yeah.
This weekend for
we're actually the overdogs, as Bo Nix always like to call us. We're the overdogs.
Okay. So so Philadelphia plus 1.5 against San Diego. Ottawa plus 1.5 against Vancouver at home, mind you. These are all home dogs except for one or two. Sorry, Toronto. It's actually Georgia plus 1.5, and then Oshawa plus 1.5 at Colorado. Give me one or two, and I have an idea here.
I'll take Ottawa and Georgia.
Okay,
so
Georgia
is my overdogs. They're plus 1.5 at -145, and Georgia's plus 1.5 at -128.
Okay,
so plus 381 for those three.
381. Here's what I'm suggesting. If we want to go with a true teaser, the number's not going to be as good, but remember the Polar Bears, they're going to sprinkle some of their good stuff and be able to get a boost. We can buy it up to Ottawa plus 2.5, Georgia plus 2.5.
Ooh.
And then we're probably going to look at like maybe plus 300. Somewhere in that ballpark. Do you like that?
Yeah, I do. I'm in.
Okay. All right. So
send it to the Polar Bears. Yeah, send it to the Polar Bears. See what they can do.
And keep your eyes peeled as well. We're going to do the prop shop. We're going to keep that rolling as well. Just a little bit too early in the week. Still waiting to hear some injury news and whatnot. So we'll post it to social. Cool, but we'll retweet it as well. We'll pick 2 or 3 player props. We'll get that up there. That will be in the exclusive tab where you can also find the loose mesh parlay if you want to ride with Frick picks, or if you want to go with the lax class guys, they'll have their parlays up and rolling in there as well. Probably by the time you're listening to this as well, those parlays will be up. And of course, it's NFL, conference championship weekend, Teddy. There is going to be more than enough to bet. I know you might be too emotionally invested to do any wagering this weekend.
Not on that game. The other game for sure.
But Seattle, just looking at the lines right now, Seattle minus 2.5 We already talked about your game. So there's a lot of opportunities there. You can also go to the promotions tab and you can check out the Football Hub. You've got 3 opportunities, 3 options each and every week. You can do a bet builder insurance where up to $20, you basically place $20. If you win, great. Your bet wins. If you lose, you get that wager back in a free bet. You can also just get a profit boost, 30%. Boost your winnings on maybe it's a parlay, maybe it's a prop bet, maybe it's a spread, doesn't matter. Or you can bet 30 and get a $15 free bet as well. All you got to do, go to that promotions page, click the Cool Bets Football Hub, and you'll see the 3 green buttons. Claim your bonus. And the best part about this, Teddy, each and every week, you can try a different one. So let's say you do profit boost this week. It won't be next week, but for the Super Bowl, which we'll also have a couple other promos out for that, you'll be able to check that out there at coolbet.com. And of course, Teddy, if you haven't joined CoolBet, what are you doing first and foremost? But if you are, you can go to that, again, green button, click that button, type in OTCB before you hit deposit. CoolBet will double your deposit up to $200 for you to wager on NLL, NFL, whatever you want. We will make it happen.
Coolbet.com is the site. The Polar Bears are the people, and as always, stay cool.
Bet responsibly.
That's this week's show, everybody. Appreciate you tuning in. Thanks to Zach Mans for giving us some time, and of course for the Goalie Factory for sponsoring this week's guest. He is Pat Gregoire. Find him at P. Greggy. I am Teddy Jenner at Teddy Jenner in Stiddy. We trust. The show is at OTCB_podcast or on the Instagrams at OTCB Podcast. Just a 4-game week, so not a lot of lacrosse action, but plenty of games still to take in. If you do go to a game, take a friend. If you take a friend, take 2 and buy him a beer. Lacrosse, friends, and beer, the perfect trifecta to stay warm during the winter. Enjoy the games. Till we speak again, stay safe, go Broncos, and be excellent to each other.